We live in a world that glorifies relationships as the ultimate path to happiness. We are told that love completes us, that without a partner, we are somehow unfinished. But what if? Solitude is not a lack of connection, but a gateway to the deepest one, the connection with yourself. Carl Gustav Jung, one of the great pioneers of analytical psychology, believed that the journey toward the true self begins in silence, not in noise, in solitude, not in companionship. He taught that the ability to be alone is not a weakness. It is, in fact, a profound strength, a sacred space where our soul learns to speak without interruption. In this video, we will explore how solitude can become more than just a pause between relationships. We'll dive beyond cliches and discover why learning to love yourself might be the most revolutionary act of all, and how Jung's concept of individuation reveals the true meaning of authenticity and inner freedom. Scene: close-ups of nature, raindrops, old books, candlelight. Jung described individuation as the central process of human development, the journey of becoming who you truly are. It is the gradual unfolding of the personality, the reconciliation of all its parts, both the light and the shadow. Through individuation, we move from unconsciousness to awareness, from imitation to authenticity. But what exactly does this mean? And why is it so relevant to modern relationships? In our culture, relationships often serve as mirrors. We project our needs, our wounds, and our insecurities onto others. Without realizing it, we seek in another person what we have not yet discovered within ourselves. We fall in love not only with who the other is, but with who we wish we could be. For Jung, this is where the danger lies. When we have not yet developed our own inner world, a relationship can easily become an escape, a way to avoid solitude and the uncomfortable process of self-confrontation. Scene: a solitary figure walking through woods. He compared human development to the growth of a tree. If a tree has shallow roots, the first storm will uproot it. But if its roots grow deep, nourished by silence, solitude, and reflection, it can withstand any weather. Our inner roots are formed in the times we spend alone, in the moments when we face our own thoughts without distraction, when we question, reflect, and rediscover who we are without anyone else's influence. In solitude, we build resilience. We learn that our worth doesn't depend on whether we are loved or noticed. We begin to understand what truly brings us peace. Theme: an old photograph or diary. Take, for example, a person who, after years of unfulfilling relationships, decides to stop searching for a partner and instead begins to explore their own interests. Perhaps they rediscover a forgotten passion for photography. What begins as a hobby becomes a way to express emotions, observe beauty, and reconnect with life. Through the lens, they don't just capture the world, they capture themselves. This self-discovery transforms the way they will love in the future. Now, when they enter a relationship, it's not out of need or fear of loneliness, but out of choice. They no longer seek someone to complete them, because they have already found completeness within. That is the essence of individuation, realizing that you are already whole. Scene: a montage of romantic movies, wedding scenes fading into static noise. For generations, society has equated happiness with being in love. From fairy tales to Hollywood films, we've been told that love is the solution to every problem, that happily ever after begins only when two become one. But what happens when that story no longer fits? The subtle pressure begins early. We hear it in questions like, "When will you settle down?" Or, "Why are you still single?" These small remarks often hide deep societal conditioning, the belief that being alone is a failure, a sign of incompleteness. Some even internalize guilt for choosing solitude, as if self-discovery were selfish. Yet this narrative blinds us to a simple truth. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot share love if you do not first cultivate it within. Scene: footage of city crowds contrasted with someone meditating. Jung warned that when relationships become substitutes for self-understanding, they lead to emotional dependency and loss of identity. He wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. This acceptance of both light and shadow is impossible if we constantly distract ourselves with external validation. True love," Jung might argue, is not fusion but union, two whole individuals standing side by side, sharing their paths while remaining rooted in themselves. To achieve that, solitude becomes not isolation, but preparation. It is a sacred apprenticeship for the soul. Scene: solitary morning rituals, writing, tea, sunlight through window. In solitude, every act becomes a mirror. When you make a decision, there is no one to influence you, only your intuition and conscience. You begin to see what you truly want, what you truly fear, and what you've been avoiding. You discover forgotten joys, maybe painting, hiking, or simply reading under the sun. You realize that peace doesn't come from another person's presence, but from your own alignment with truth. Gradually, you stop seeking constant reassurance. You stop chasing approval, and something miraculous happens. Self-respect grows quietly inside you. You learn to appreciate your company, and from that inner peace emerges a new kind of strength. The strength to say no, to set boundaries, to walk away from what no longer resonates. Scene: dark background, slow music. This strength becomes a shield against toxic dynamics. People who fear being alone are more likely to accept manipulation, control, or disrespect, because loneliness feels worse than pain. But once you find comfort in your own presence, you no longer tolerate half love or conditional acceptance. You begin to recognize red flags, not because you've become cynical, but because you've become conscious. And consciousness is the greatest protection. Solitude is not punishment, it is purification. It is the process through which we burn illusions and emerge clearer, freer, and wiser. Scene: slow motion of waves washing over rocks. Of course, the path of solitude is not always easy. There are nights when silence feels heavy, moments when the absence of companionship feels like a void. But if you stay long enough in that silence, you'll notice something subtle. Beneath the loneliness, there's peace. And within that peace, there's self-discovery. The very discomfort of being alone becomes the doorway to awakening. As Jung said, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. Scene: camera pans across a library shelf, books by Jung, Nietzsche, Rumi. The world often confuses solitude with isolation. Isolation is forced, a disconnection from others that breeds suffering. But solitude is chosen, an intentional act of returning to yourself. In solitude, you do not reject the world. You simply pause to understand how you want to engage with it. You become a student of your own psyche, learning how your fears operate, how your dreams speak, and how your patterns repeat. This is the alchemy of individuation, turning unconscious patterns into conscious choices. When you understand yourself, you no longer seek relationships out of habit. You seek them out of resonance. Scene: people smiling alone, walking in nature, cooking, journaling. Let's imagine solitude as a blank canvas. At first, it can seem intimidating. All that space, all that emptiness. But soon, you realize it's an invitation to paint your own story without someone else holding the brush. You might start journaling your thoughts, reflecting on old wounds, learning emotional intelligence. You begin to listen, not to social noise, but to your inner whisper. And slowly, that whisper becomes a voice, a compass guiding you toward authenticity. This process, Jung would say, is essential for psychological wholeness. Without it, we risk living through borrowed identities, the expectations of parents, partners, or society. Scene: soft focus of candlelight fading to sunlight. As you embrace solitude, your relationship with the world transforms. You start appreciating simple things: silence, stillness, the beauty of being present. You realize that fulfillment doesn't require an audience. It's enough to exist in harmony with your own rhythm. You learn patience. You learn self-forgiveness. And most importantly, you learn that you don't need to be fixed. You were never broken, only disconnected from your essence. When that realization dawns, love returns, not as a desperate need, but as a natural extension of self-acceptance. Scene: reflections on water, slow heartbeat sound. Many still resist solitude, calling it selfish or escapist. But the truth is, facing yourself is one of the bravest acts there is. It takes courage to confront your flaws, your contradictions, your unmet desires. It's much easier to lose yourself in someone else's story. Solitude forces honesty. It holds a mirror up to your soul and asks, Who are you when no one is watching? What do you believe when no one is telling you what to think? What brings you joy when no one is there to witness it? The answers to these questions define your essence. And once you know your essence, you become free. Seen, a door opening to sunlight. For those afraid of solitude, remember, this state is not permanent. It's a chapter, not the entire story. It's a sacred interval, a preparation for deeper, more conscious connections. By choosing to be alone, you are not rejecting love. You are refining it. You are ensuring that when love does arrive, it finds you whole, not half. Scene, montage, personal growth moments, learning, creating, smiling alone. Solo life, when embraced consciously, becomes a catalyst for transformation. It's not a waiting room before real life begins. It is real life, a time to experiment, explore, and redefine who you are, to rebuild values that align with your truth, to heal wounds that you once ignored, and to prepare yourself to share love from abundance, not from lack. You learn to choose people not for their ability to fill your emptiness, but for their ability to inspire your growth. That's when relationships evolve from dependency to partnership, from attachment to alignment. Scene, dusk, lone figure watching stars. Solitude teaches you that happiness is not something to be given. It's something to be realized. You stop chasing it in others because you found it in yourself. You stop running after attention because you've learned to give attention to your own heart. As your inner world deepens, even silence becomes a conversation between your conscious self and your soul. This is where Jung's vision of individuation becomes a lived reality. The fragmented pieces of your psyche begin to unite. Your past, your fears, your dreams, all find harmony in the present moment. And that harmony radiates outward, transforming every future connection. Scene, calm instrumental music builds. Being alone doesn't mean being incomplete. It means being brave enough to meet yourself, perhaps for the first time. It's an act of love, not withdrawal. It's saying, I am enough, even here, even now. It's understanding that the most meaningful relationship you'll ever have is with your own soul. Jung once wrote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, and that privilege begins in solitude when you stop performing and start listening. Scene, end montage, journal pages turning, candles, nature shots. So ask yourself, am I ready to love myself as deeply as I wish others would love me? Am I ready to explore who I am beyond roles, beyond expectations, beyond fear? Because when you do, you'll find that solitude is not empty. It's full of you. And once you meet yourself, you'll never feel lonely again. Closing lines. Fade and channel outro. If this reflection resonated with you, take a moment to explore Jung's works, such as the Red Book, Archetypes, and the Collective Unconscious, and Modern Man in Search of a Soul. They are treasures for anyone who seeks a deeper understanding of human nature. Remember, your path to fulfillment doesn't begin with another person. It begins the moment you turn inward. Thank you for watching The Hidden Synchronicity. If this message spoke to your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. What does solitude mean to you? And how has it changed your relationship with yourself? Until next time, explore your unconscious, embrace your shadow, and discover the hidden synchronicities that connect all things.